Bismillah. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, and may peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and final messenger. As to what follows, family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love with no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, family, before we begin, I do have the brother C.L. Edwards with me. Those of you who are watching me on Facebook, you won't be able to see him. And I have some announcements before I get into that. YouTube has basically blocked me from uploading and doing lives and stuff like that. So I'm on right now my mirror channel or my mirror site. And I would like for the brothers and the sisters to please, if you're on my Facebook, look at the link on my Facebook, so to check it out on YouTube, inshallah. I really need you guys to support this channel. I need you guys to head over to the infamous Feachaz. That's the infamous Feachaz, or you can just type it in the search engine, right? And the channel should come up. I need everybody to head over there right now and subscribe. When I did my live yesterday, basically what happened was I was talking about Muhammad hijab on live yesterday, and Muhammad hijab, he had an issue with. We're not going to mention anything that YouTube will shut us down here for. So let's just say he had an incident with some juice. Okay, he had an incident with some juice that was basically stabbed inside of him. Okay, and this incident with this particular juice caused him to have a lot of health issues. And I was doing a live reaction to that yesterday. And because I did a live reaction to that, YouTube decided that I was spreading false information about certain illnesses that we will not mention, right? And certain juices that people don't drink, but rather they have to have this juice stabbed inside of them, right? And because they did that, they put a strike on my channel. But they didn't just put a strike on my channel. They prevented me from uploading and doing lives and posts and stuff like that. So I really need you guys to go over to the infamous Feachaz and to basically subscribe to the infamous Feachaz, right? Subscribe to the infamous Feachaz, share with everybody. Still, if you're going to be supporting the Feachaz, you can still do memberships and stuff like that until I get all that cleared up, until I'm able to upload on the Feachaz channel. But until that time, we will be posting on the infamous Feachaz. So it's very important because you guys are the marketing team, right? You guys are the ones who are, basically the ones who are pushing the channel. And as you see, this has happened to me several times, right? Where YouTube try to shut me down, but they can't shut us down forever. They just can't do it. So it's important for you guys to support the channel, right? And so let's introduce our guests on YouTube, brother CL Edwards, CL Edwards, CL Feachaz. I don't know which one you prefer. Okay, Sheikh, how you doing, man?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing great. All praises due to Allah. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah. I'm in there. You're telling the truth when people try to shut you down, man. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah. Somebody got offended.
It's a part of, yeah, exactly. It's a part of the process. When people are shutting you down, and you know what I mean? Like these big, huge corporations give a voice to the liars, but they shut down the people who are just asking the questions. You feel me? And it's something that especially Muslims, they got to realize that standing up for the truth is not a walk in the park. You know what I mean?
No,
And it's
no.
never ever easy. You feel me? So the fact that they blocked me again is like a badge of honor. You know what I'm saying?
Subhanallah.
You know?
I mean, the way that
Yeah. So,
social, the way that the YouTube platform is going, they're trying to promote, just mindless stuff. And at this moment, they're trying to promote music. They're trying to promote, stuff that mirrors what's going on over in TikTok. So, they don't really want anything
yeah.
too serious going on the platform.
Mm. Yeah.
So
That is a
might be
fact.
time
That is a fact. They're
might be
starting to do
time to
the
go ahead. I'm sorry. I said it might be time to explore, putting content on alternative platforms.
yeah. I mean, we honestly these social media platforms. You're talking about billion-dollar industries, right? They make a hell of a lot of money on ads, and you know what I mean. So the when it comes to digital real estate, we don't have anything. We're kind of subjected to what our enemy allows us to participate in turn when it comes to digital real estate, right? So make no mistake, these people are, they're not our friends. They're our enemies, man. If we were able to say anything that we wanted, they wouldn't have to go that far. You feel me?
Mm.
But they just show their true
Well,
colors.
I tell you what. hmm I tell you what gets attention and promotion. Uh,
Mm,
Maybe not so much on YouTube. I haven't seen it, but over on TikTok, it's like a jungle. It's like I don't know what's going on over there. I've seen some just ridiculously crazy videos by Muslims. I'm not
mm,
talking about the kuffar. I'm talking about the Muslims.
mm,
Muslims dancing to rap songs, cussing, talking
mm,
about homosexuality. I
mm,
seen this one. I seen it was
mm,
a brother made a reaction video to a sister in hijab, whole thing. And she's talking about um she's promoting tarot cards or something, saying the Muslims
oh
just don't
wow!
understand
Now who's it
the Muslims don't understand tarot cards. If you understood it, you wouldn't say it's haram.
wow. Wow. Now who's it been left? Now who's it been left?
Yeah,
Even as a joke, it's like, I mean, I shouldn't be laughing because that is like extremely serious, man. You're talking
yeah,
about
it's
like
cool.
that is sure. But a lot of the Muslims nowadays, they give a pass to even grave worshiping. So maybe you can say maybe they'll give her udhr or jahl. You know what I mean? No, maybe they give her
Maybe.
excuse of ignorance. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
that's not my personal view though, man. I can't. I mean, I understand there's scholars that you know they have this argument with udhr or jahl, or the excuse of ignorance. But for me personally, it doesn't sit right. Do you understand?
Yeah.
It doesn't sit right.
Well, I mean, it was. If anything was clear, the sister was it. She was, she was very ignorant. Um, I think the
Mm,
brother who did the reaction video, he did a pretty good reaction video explaining why, he brought, authentic hadith explaining why this is clearly haram. There's nothing to debate about. There's
mm,
nothing. It's not a discussion.
mm,
But that's the thing. A lot of people think, first of all, people are ignorant, and then they think
mm.
everything is. They think Islam is like everything else, like politics or something like that. You could just debate about it, or you can ignorantly go back and forth with someone about, I think this and you think that, and I feel this and you feel that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they make it real arbitrary. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's yeah. But
And I said,
go ahead.
no, no, I was going to say, I put a post on Facebook earlier today asking, why don't the Muslims have any type of robust media, whether it's online
Mm,
or not online, when other groups do. like
Mm-hmm.
the Christians, you know, they have TBN, which is like the
Mm-hmm.
world's largest satellite broadcasting system,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's the largest in the world. It's bigger
Mm-hmm.
than NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS, Christian owned, and they're broadcasting, Christianity, calling people to Christianity all over the world, and they aim those satellites directly into the Muslim lands. Um, CBN, Christian Broadcasting Network, which is a very large
Mm-hmm.
network as far as broadcasting, radio, and online. Muslims don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything that compares
Yep.
to what Christians have, um, or even the right wingers and Republican types, conservative types, what they have. Even online,
Mm-hmm.
you got websites like Breitbart, the Blaze, all these different right wing websites and digital media outlets. The Muslims don't have anything that even compares to things like that. Uh, but we
Yep.
got people on the Dawa scene who make videos about each other, and and talk, you know, you know.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing, to be honest, man. It's really embarrassing, and uh,
I mean,
a lot. Go ahead, Sheikh.
one more. I was going to say the Mormons. The Mormons have are
Hmm.
more robust media than the Muslims, and there's only like
Yeah.
2 million. There's only like 2 million Mormons. Period.
Yep. Yep. Even if you look at the Jews, there are very few of them, like internationally, right?
Hmm.
Including in Israel, there are not really that many of them, right?
Yeah.
But they own all the major media outlets in the West.
Hmm.
Like they straight out own it.
Oh
You
yeah.
feel me? So when your enemy owns the information that you receive and you have nothing to combat it, you know you're in bad shape.
Hmm.
You understand?
You're right.
And really, online there should be a type of I want to say like a type of understanding between the people who are making dawah online. Even if you disagree with somebody else that you're making dawah with, there should be some sort of uh what's the word I'm looking, like sort of some sort of decorum, where you're not gonna go past a certain uh like level, or like you're not gonna cross the line. But
Hmm.
all we see online with online da'is is just habitual line crossers. Habitual line crossers. It's the majority of online da'is.
Hmm.
The vast majority. If somebody goes and refutes this one, then they have to come back. You know what I mean? And it becomes the dawah is more personal than it is anything to do with actual religion. You feel
Yes.
me?
Yeah, and there's a lot of clicks. There's a lot of clicking
Yeah.
up. You know, such and such publications versus such and such publications, and and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's okay. Save it. Celebrity publications. We can say it, man. No
But
problem, man. We can
I'm
say
not,
it.
I'm not. I don't even want to beat up on them. People point out to them a lot,
Mm.
but it's not just them. We shouldn't make it seem
Now
like
it's not just them.
no. If you just get
Yeah.
rid of Salafi publications, then the problem goes. No, even some of your
Mm.
mainline, well-known, Dawa people, they roam in cliques, and one clique doesn't like the other clique, and so it's not just them.
Yep. Yep. And that's a fact, man. And that's a fact. That's what the Dawa is nowadays, right? When you were mentioning about, you know, a brother, the brother doing a commentary on the sister, and the sister is talking about tarot cards and stuff like that, right? That could never happen back in the day. Like never,
Mm.
never in a million years. But the Dawa changed to become this type of it's almost like Islam in 2021. It's almost like Christianity.
Mm.
You feel me? Where it's kind of like this type of pick and choose what you want to follow Islam, right, and tailor it to your lifestyle.
Yeah, in
That's
many
what it
ways,
is now.
it is the way a lot of Muslims their outlook. It is no different than Christianity. Isn't you might and there's no you might as well be a Muslim Baptist. I don't, you combine these things. It's the mentality is exactly the same. Like
Yeah.
I remember I had a conversation. It was like a 2-day conversation with a pastor about what is it, First Corinthians chapter 11 as the chapter that talks about the head covering. Um, and we had this
Mm,
discussion about this, and I over and over again I'm asking him, how can you just dismiss this? It's a command. It's you reading it and I'm reading it. It's you see it's a command. It's not a different command than any other of the other commands. So why is this command you don't follow, but you said you need to follow these other commands? What's the difference? And what was
mm,
well, if we said this was a command, it would make it hard on women. But
mm.
how do you get to do that? How do you get to decide that
Yep.
a command of God is going to be too hard on certain people, so we're just not going to teach it anymore? Like, how does that work?
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's where I expect that from the Christians at this point. But
Yep.
now the
Hmm.
Muslims, now the Muslims are doing
Yeah. The
that.
Muslims. Exactly. Exactly. Ever since we started seeing the changes after 9/11, to be honest, because
Mm,
that was really strong. And even after, sometime after 9/11, that was still pretty, like fairly strong.
hmm
But that's when you started seeing the big changes. When that's when spubs got really powerful around that time. That's when we saw a lot of infiltration from the government, and a lot of infiltration from the government. I mean, a lot, right?
mm.
Of infiltration from the government. And then we had all these imams talk about Islam means peace, right?
Well, I blame
So
it a
they
lot.
moved from.
Mhm. I was going to interject, you know, from my vantage point, and I'm not trying to start beef, but I see a lot of certain individuals were promoted, a lot of Sufis, you know, were promoted,
Mm,
and kind of these ecumenical type, let's all come together and, we're all people of faith, old people, and, people of faith is just like people of color, you know, people of faith,
yeah,
let's just all be together,
yeah.
and you water things down and you kind of put this universal message that can apply to all people and not apply
To
to anyone
everybody,
at
yeah.
the same time, and that became
Exactly,
very
exactly.
popular. um and it's just a little bit of everything, where you put this out and you make this, like you just said, Islam means peace, kind of universal message
Mm,
that applies to everybody. The
yeah,
beautiful we talked about the beautiful poems of Rumi and all this other, you
all
start
kind
putting
of
all this
nonsense, man.
yeah, you put all this stuff out and you
Yeah.
water down the deen and you make it, palatable for mainstream society, you know, and then it
Mhm.
just becomes, let's all, we can get in this and we'll pick and choose what we want. And I'm not ready for all that, but
Exactly.
I'll be somewhat Muslim.
And really, there's no incentive for people to become Muslim if Islam is like that. This type of dharmic religions that are coming out of India and stuff, like Buddhism and Hinduism and whatnot, where we all just kind of get along, and we're all love and peaceful and everything like that. That is a recipe to get controlled and taken advantage of, which is exactly what's happening today, anyways. Right?
Hmm
1 second. Okay, on Facebook, people on Facebook, please meet me over at the infamous features on YouTube. Please meet me over at the infamous features on YouTube. I need your support. I need you to climb over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, right, and spread it to all your friends. This is a call to action for everybody that loves this channel. right? So support this channel. Let the standing up for the truth. This is the cost for standing up for the truth. It's not a joke. You know, people always try to shut us down, right? So how serious are you? Right? You have to support these type of channels, these type of efforts, right? So meet us over at the infamous Feachaz, right? Salaam Alaikum. Okay. So just let me do this here on Facebook. My phone's running out of power, so I want to get this done right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
No. You know.
Yeah, bro.
SubhanAllah.
So yeah, go ahead, continue, bro.
Okay. No. Yeah. So, like, you kind of had this dual threat that happened after 9/11, like you said. One, as far as of the people who were supposed to be on the Sunnah, you had, the promotion and the takeover of Salafi pubs. So that neutralized that, and then, among the general Muslims, you had all these little personalities, these little Ikhwani personalities and these little Sufi personalities get promoted, and with this kind of watered down, popular Islam, pop Islam.
Yeah.
And so it's like a 1-2 punch, right, left punch. So where could you go? I mean, for people who were coming into the deen after that point, where were they going to go to? What were they going to embrace? Because that's what
Exactly.
those are the two bullhorns. That's the two messages that you see. Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to be in this, the quote unquote quote unquote the Salafi camp, where Salafi is a hizb that you ascribe to, and you have to go to war with everybody and all this other stuff, and we see what happened with many of those people. We've discussed that before. Or are you going to go over here? You're going to be a Sufi? You're going to be you're going to look at videos of whirling dervishes or something like that. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go to? You're just going to go to the plain immigrant masjid where nobody speaks to each other and nobody wants to include you, and there's no activity, and there's no community, and you just sit there and struggle.
Yep.
You struggle your way through Islam.
Yep.
And then I can name so many different stories about that.
Watch all these kind of people get
SubhanAllah.
married and stuff like that.
Yeah, people. Yeah, you're sitting there watching people getting married, and you can't get married, and these type of things.
Yeah,
And
you just have
watching
a
people having
relationship.
families, and you don't
You
have
got
any
a
of that.
relationship with yourself, and yeah, you got your relationship with yourself at the bathroom,
Or worse than
and some
that,
Vaseline,
or
and
worse,
that's it,
or,
man.
wor- or worse than that, or you do get married,
Yeah.
and that turns out to be a horror show.
Yeah.
So how many people we have seen, especially from the sisters. How many sisters we've seen come into the deen, and they get married, and a lot of these sisters you see on TikTok and Instagram making these crazy videos. I guarantee you, if you were to investigate this and ask these sisters, I bet you a lot of them have been married and divorced, probably married and divorced a couple of times. And
well,
because
that's where we wanted to get to at that's the kind of like the topic we're trying to cover right today. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
About this Pookie and Ray culture.
Yes.
Right. You know what I mean?
That's a big problem
right
also.
That.
That's a big problem also.
Yeah. But it's all related, because this Pookie and Ray culture, it's fairly, for me, it's new anyways, because I was living in Saudi Arabia the entire time when like for a long time, and I lived in Saudi for 9 years. When I got back to Canada, I was seeing things in the masjid that I had never seen before. Before I left Canada, like I'd never seen dudes going to masjid with earrings on. Like I'd never seen that before. You feel me? They're in the masjid and they have earrings in their ears for Jummah, right? I'd never seen. And even in Saudi Arabia, I didn't see this actually when I was there. So that's a good aspect of Saudi. But when I came to Canada, I never seen kids go to the masjid on Jummah with their cell phones in their hands, playing with their cell phones in the Jummah Salah.
Mm.
That was all new to me. You feel me? And nobody's saying anything. And the thing that really sticks out for me, bro, since I've been back to Canada, and this is true, every khutbah I've heard, except for one, except for one, no, I want to say two, sorry, not one, two khutbahs, okay? Every I've heard since I've been back in Canada has been absolutely dry and boring. All of them, except for two.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the people now, they're not waking up the youth. The youth are going there like it's a chore, right? That's why they got their cell phones in their hands, because they can't even pay attention to these boring speakers on these minbars. Meanwhile, in the real world, the youth are losing their God-given minds. And so many of them are Islamic culturally, and that's it. They're not practicing Islam, the actual religion of Islam. They're practicing something that their parents taught them and call themselves Muslims.
Mm.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So now, what we have, especially in the black community, because the black community, of course, we've suffered a lot in the West under white supremacy, and we have a lot of social issues due to white supremacy. What we have now is a culture where Pookie and Ray Ray, they become Muslim, right? They accept Islam, and Pookie and Ray Ray accept Islam. They go to these masajid. They get told that, you got to stay like this way. You have to be on this path. And they put on their thobe and they grow their beards. And now they're just Pookie and Ray Ray in the thobe and a beard now. They didn't change anything in their character. They didn't make any effort in taking Islamic knowledge seriously, like learning Arabic or whatnot. All they do is memorize some catchphrases that they get told by the imam, right? So that they can remain a part of that group, but they still out in the streets hustling. They're still, bagging girls. Wallahi, I saw this on Facebook, okay? Salafi brother. Uqsam billah, I saw this with my own eyes, okay? He's got a beard and everything. He's got his pants above his ankles. You know what I mean? He's wearing a thobe. And no, he wasn't wearing a thobe in this video, but he had his pants above his ankles. And he's saying, because he got out of jail and everything like that. And he's like, he's saying this on Facebook publicly. He's saying that he's never going to get married. He's always going to be and he's swearing while he's saying this. Like he's using like F word. I'm always going to be effing, some non-Muslim woman and blah, 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 and making zina because, marriage is not for me and blah, blah. He's saying this like he's blatantly saying that openly.
Mm. I believe it.
You feel me? Another sister I saw on Facebook. I remember I just got back to Canada, right? So I didn't know what was happening. I wasn't on Facebook when I came back to Canada. I only joined Facebook because I was selling cars. So I came on Facebook to make like a platform for my customers. So I never had even black people or Muslims, anything like that on my Facebook, right? That started after after like I got sick, and then I said, okay, well, let me just add some black people. And then I started seeing what was happening, right? And I was one sister, right? Wallahi, I'll never forget this. Okay, this is when I first came on Facebook, man. She's a sister, okay? She's in abaya, okay? She has her niqab flipped up, right? And hijab, all black, right? And when you go on Facebook and the people are like doing their lives or their videos, you don't hear any sound, right? You have to click on the thing to get the sound.
Yeah.
Right. So I see her doing this thing, right? like this, right? And then she's drinking. I'm like, what is she doing, right? I click and we'll find she's blasting this music, right? And she's drinking alcohol. I'm not sure what it, but she said she actually said it. She said, I'm getting crunk. You know, she said that. And she's smoking weed at the same time with her abaya on and her niqab flipped over.
Mm-hmm. Oh
yeah. Uqsam billah. I saw that with my own eye. Like, what is this? What is this?
Actually, in many ways, some of the Muslim youth are worse than the Christians in some aspects, because the average Christian isn't going to smoke a blunt with a cross in their hand. The average Christian isn't going to be, standing in front of a church, drinking alcohol. But like you said, there's certain aspects of our religion that can easily become cultural, like the abaya, the hijab, and the call, the beard. These things can be a culture. From what I've been told, like on the East Coast in America, in the New York, New Jersey area, it's very common. It's so common to see people with their pants above their ankles that even the non-Muslims take it as a style to have your pants above your ankles in places like Philadelphia and Newark. So you can't even tell who's Muslim and who's not Muslim, because they both have beards and they both have their pants above their ankles. But it's just a style. It's just something to do. It doesn't have there's no spiritual content to it at all. It's completely void of any spiritual content or religious content. It's just something people do because everybody else is doing it. Just like you have people saying, "Oh, I'm Salafi." I'm Salafi because they live in a neighborhood where everybody says that they're Salafi, and everybody at the masjid says they're Salafi. But they're so far. Their mind and heart is so far from the Salaf, as far as the moon is from Pluto. It means nothing.
Yeah.
The Salaf, that means absolutely nothing.
It's being Salafi in our time is just something that people say. You know what I mean? Even when we were, I can't even say we became Salafi like that, because I remember the first time I heard about Salafiyah, it was explained to me that Salafiyah is not a group, it's not a sect, it's just a methodology of approaching the religion. You feel me? Right? So we were used to saying we're Salafi inshallah. That's how we used to say it way back in the day. We're Salafi inshallah. Like we hope to be Salafi. Because we understood that Salafiyah is just, it's not like a group, you know what I mean? It's a particular approach that you use in order to understand the Quran and the Sunnah. That's how we understood it. Right? So it's not like being Hanafi or Shafi, or you have to follow a certain man's fiqh or a certain man's No, we understood that like when you're looking at the Quran and the Sunnah, you don't just understand the Quran and Sunnah any old way, right? And you don't practice the Quran and Sunnah any old way, right? That was our understanding. Salafiyah today doesn't mean that, not to these people.
And that's right? a direct outgrowth of
time, what it means.
Now you keep going. I was just going to say that's a direct outgrowth of.
Go ahead.
That's the direct outgrowth of the internet wars and the corporatization of Salafiyah.
Yeah. You gotta remember in our history, the history of Black people, we have a very long history of being infiltrated. Long, well-documented history of being infiltrated and having our groups dismantled and destroyed from the inside. Right? So there comes a point, a time, when you keep seeing these type of things happening over and over and over again, that you have to take a long look in the mirror and take some accountability and responsibility for what's happening in your community. right? We
Well,
allow these things. Let's be real. You know, and how many times can we use excuses now? Is we're talking about like 20 years these people came into our communities, foreigners, dismantled everything, turned bastardized the manhaj. Okay, they completely made a new religion.
hmm.
And the same people that became Salafi and in the last 15 years or so, those people, if they're still Salafi, whatever they knew back then is the same thing they knew back. There's no growth in knowledge, no growth in mannerisms, no growth in akhlaq, no growth in anything, nothing. Not education. They speak exactly the same way. They don't try to read a book or anything like that. They spend their time learning from the noble duat. And now the noble duat have become the noble
Sheikhs.
shayukh,
Yes. And
right?
when they say
The
the same
sheikhs.
exact individual said there were no shuyukh in the West. Same
Mm-hmm.
people. Same. How does that work?
Yeah.
How I, how does that
Yeah.
work?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. That's
Waleed,
crazy.
Salaam Alaikum.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
كيف حالك شيخ? How
Assalamu
you doing?
alaikum.
الحمد لله تمام. الحمد لله.
Alhamdulillah.
الحمد لله.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to be added. I'd rather stay backstage. Please put me back on backstage. الحمد لله. ما شاء الله.
Alhamdulillah. Yes. So basically, you know, I think you've been listening, right? We've been talking about this topic now, about people coming into our communities, you know, and Islam has not been in the West for a long time, right? It hasn't. And again, the black community was attacked by outsiders. The Dawah completely dismantled and turned upside down. And now we have Pookie and Ray Rays and stuff in the community talking about they're going to be, you know, making zina because they're not interested in marriage. And we have a problem with the Muslims now in our time that never happened before, where they're involved in producing single parent families, right? So share your thoughts with us, Sheikh.
Sadly, if I would like to know solutions to this, you know, I sadly I'm aware of these kind of things. Sadly I have no solutions except for Islam, obviously. But step by step solutions. I'm afraid I can't really speak much on that. Especially in the Western culture, or the North America, I can't speak on that. I'm afraid.
But let me throw a
Well,
question
you know,
out there.
like I keep. Go ahead, Sheikh. Go ahead.
The question is, okay, what happened to boycotting? You know, people were
That
getting
really
people were
caused a
getting
lot of.
boycott. No, but listen to context that I'm putting it in. People were boycotting people because they went to for the boycotting became to the point where if a person prayed at a particular masjid, they could get boycotted. If a person was known to go to a particular website, they could get boycotted. If a person
Yep.
if a person had a Bilal Phillips CD in their car and somebody saw it, they could get boycotted. People were getting boycotted for things like this. But how do you call yourself a Salafi and you sell dope and you impregnate women out of wedlock and you shoot other Muslims, but you don't get boycotted?
Yeah. And you see that phenomenon right here, that is a modern trend. And it's a gradual progression to reach that state. And I personally believe that was the goal anyways. Because it's happened before in the black community. Right? Do you know the Bloods and the Crips? Well, we now know as the Bloods and the Crips, these gangs. Do you know that they were once the Black Panthers?
Yeah, all of these gangs had whether you're talking about the West Coast gangs in LA or you're talking about the Midwest gangs in Chicago. There was a movie that recently came out that documented some of this. I mean, they got some of it right. You know, a movie, they got to condense everything, and they can't put everything inside a movie. But it was a movie, what is called The Black Messiah, something like that. And it documented some of that about how the Black Panthers had connections with some of the gangs, like the Peace Stone Rangers, gangs like this, and that they were working together and they were trying to form alliances. And even some of the gangs were actually receiving government grants to do programs to feed children and to train people for work. And all of that got shut down. All of that got shut down, and it shows that there were people, FBI agents, FBI informants, sent into these networks and organizations to infiltrate them, to gather information, and to cause chaos inside those organizations, to get people assassinated or to get people arrested. So yeah, these things were done on purpose, and it seems to be the same default. Whereas it seems like these alphabet agencies, they want to get black males, particularly when they want black males to be involved in criminal behavior. They want them to be in this Pookie Ray Ray culture and to manifest the Pookie Ray Ray spirit. And they want they want women to be involved, be single mothers, single motherhood culture, and non-married, and the ratchet culture. And no matter what it is, as black people, we've gone through so many different religious waves. Whether it was Moorish Science Temple, Nation of Islam. Some of us were involved in Sufism. Some of us were involved in Salafia. Some of us jumped. It's people. Subhanallah. There's people who, I don't know. You went from Salafia. They're Black Hebrew Israelites. It's religious wave after wave.
Imagine going from Islam. Imagine that, going from Islam, Salafia, to Black Hebrew Israelite. That's the craziest thing, and that's why I'm never going to say that was a natural phenomenon. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It's too close. You see what I'm saying? The pattern is too similar. It's the same playbook.
Like I said, every wave, every organization, every single wave, every single organization, it happens the same. It's the same thing happens every single time.
It's like a copy and paste model. You feel me? It's a copy and paste model. So when the brother Walid was asking what is the solution, right? Really, that totally depends on black people. You feel me? How much are you going to put your dependence on Allah? Because this enemy is way too powerful for you to defeat by yourself. And it's not going to happen, by you doing something outside of what Allah has commanded you to do. You feel me? The enemy is way too powerful. They've done this time and time again. So it only requires a small group of people, sincere people, to put in the work. Because if you put in the work, the people will follow. What you have is you have 20 years now of history in the West where Islam became something theoretical and not practical. It's something that people say. You understand? It's just something that people say. You have to, for example, the solution is Islam. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Tika. The solution is Islam. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? The solution is Islam. That is theory.
Yes.
The solution is calling to Tawheed. Okay, what does that mean?
But that's Christianity. That's like Christianity also.
Yeah, because it's all theory. It's just
Yes, that's the same thing
It's just
that has happened to Christianity. Now
so now.
Christianity is all theory and theology and no
Mhm.
practice. No practice.
There's no practicality. So now when you see somebody coming into your community, right, and he happens to be an Arab, right, and he's telling you, uh, don't follow such and such and such, don't follow Bilal Phillips or Sheikh Abdullah Hakim Quick or whatever, right, whoever it is, right, he's not from here. Now you get to see whether you're going to practice theory or use actual practice now. We need to ask you for two pieces of ID. Are you from us? Do you know us? Who are you? You see? That is practical. That is now practical. You see what I'm saying? Who invited you to come into our affairs and tell us who we can and can't listen to? Do you do this in your own country? Where you're from?
We can't do that with them, to be honest.
Can I go to your country right now and tell your people in your neighborhood who you can and can't listen to? Even
No,
if I
we don't
have
even.
five, 6 times as much knowledge as some of these people. Can you do that? No. Now we're talking about practice. Now we're
Not
talking
even
about
another
staying on
country.
course.
Right here. Can you go to some of these people's masjid right in the city that you are in right now? Can you go to one of their to some certain ethnic groups masjid and start telling them what they can and can't do?
Yeah, you can't even do it here. No. Imagine me now going to some Tablighi masjid now, telling the Tablighis, right, you can't go to Nidam. Can you do that? But us black people, we've been doing this for how long? It's not an overnight thing. This this model of confusing black folk is not new. It started with the black church. We've always been given our leaders by foreigners. We've never been given the opportunity to pick our own leaders. And all of our leaders have always been taken out by foreigners. Every single black da'i in the West wasn't taken out in an organic manner. It was always somebody from the outside telling us that we can't listen to our black du'a. So that's why I say the solution lies within us. Because there's only so many times you can make the same mistake before the punishment of Allah comes on you. Now that we have this Islam, do we need foreigners to explain to us what is best for us in the Quran and the Sunnah? Do we need that? With all these du'at that came from so many people, so many black people came from the West to the East study, come back to the West, and we're still going to the foreigners and they studied? Does that make sense? Walid, you're from Syria, right?
I was raised there, yes.
Okay, so can you imagine now, Walid, right? Let's say, for example, one of your shayukh from Syria, right? I come to your town where you're from, right? Wherever it is in Syria. I studied Medina, Mecca, Yemen, I have all this knowledge. And I come to your place, right? Can I go to your place and tell your people and your sheikh, you can't listen to so and 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 so in your neighborhood? Can I do that?
No.
But black people, we accept that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the believer doesn't get stung by the same hole twice.
No.
You feel me? We're the ones who have to take accountability for our own actions. This can only happen so many times. This Pookie and Ray Ray culture is a direct fruit of our own actions, or inaction for that matter.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
What about marriage? Now, the foundation of any community is supposed to be marriages. You
Mm-hmm.
can't have you can't. I mean, imagine a community where people don't get married. You don't have any marriages. Uh, you know, that is not going to work. But okay, so you have people who live in communities where marriage has been toppled over, destroyed. You have people who are
Mm-hmm.
either born out of wedlock or who were born and raised in divorced families. They have not seen a man and a woman function together in a home and be married and run a family and run a household. They haven't seen it. That 80% of their friends and classmates are in the same exact predicament. They either were born out of wedlock or they grew up under divorce. They haven't seen men and women. A lot of these people being raised in families where it's a matriarchy, where the women are running things and are in control. Now you tell these people, okay, you're Muslim now, you got to get married.
Mm-hmm.
But these people have no idea how to do. They people have no idea how to function inside of a marriage. They
Exactly.
have no idea how to function as any of these roles, husband, wife. They have no idea how these roles function.
Yeah, they don't have any history of doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So okay, if you can, how do you stand up in a lecture and tell the people they need to get married, not commit zina, they got to get married, which is true,
Yeah.
and then you marry these people off, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no education, there's nothing to tell them how to function as man and wife in a marriage. And on top of that, you're marrying sisters to your Pookie and Ray Ray
Ray Ray.
friend.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Pookie comes home
Pookie.
from prison
Mm-hmm.
and he's taking the shahada and he's Muslim. Pookie is your boy, and you marry him to a sister in your community,
Yep. And that
and then disaster
me
ensues.
me personally, I'm against marriage without counseling for Westerners. Before they get married, they should have marriage courses and counseling and these type of things before they get married for Westerners, because we have so many dysfunctional families due to our condition, right? Complete broken up families and whatnot. We don't have any history of we have the history of the nuclear family in the black community has been completely destroyed since the 80s. You understand? So now we have like three generations now of black folk who've grown up in single parent households, and I can't remember the numbers, but something like 80% of criminals, you know, come from single mother households. 80% is some massive number like that.
Hmm.
80% or almost 80%. You understand? This is by design. So now when you tell somebody who has no history of marriage or marriage in their family that they have to get married so they don't commit zina, what they hear, right? And you tell them about divorce and stuff like that. What they hear is that, okay, if I want to have sexual relations, I have to get married. That's what they heard. If I want to have sexual relations, I have to get married. They didn't hear anything about staying married, building a family, uh, you know, uh, being a responsible parent. They didn't hear any of that.
Hmm.
So they go into these marriages fully intending for the marriage to fail so that they can go on to the next one, to the next one, and to the next one. You
Yeah,
feel me?
yeah,
They calculate in their head. Even the sisters, they'll calculate their IDDA and everything. You see what I'm saying? On top of that, you have generations of sisters who do not have the first clue or idea what it takes to be a wife. in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That is a massive problem because 80% of marriages end end up in divorce specifically because of the woman. The black, it's particularly in the black community. The women are the ones initiating the divorces. You feel me? And they don't know what it takes to be a wife. When you're telling uh, these women, to cook and clean and what you call it, stay in shape and these type of things, they instantly go into this type of feminist mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did Cardi B say in that song? And they repeat that stuff. What did she say? You know what she said?
No, I don't know.
I don't clean, I don't cook, whatever it is. That song, she's saying, I don't clean, I don't cook. All right, these are what women are. They think this is what men want. They think this is how do you keep a man. The worst advisor to a black woman is another black woman.
Mm.
That is the worst, especially single black women with children. And they listen to each other because they don't understand that they have been, the ideas that they got is not an organic idea. It's something that's been forced upon them through feminism, through the feminist movement in the 70s, right? This type of independent, you got to be a strong, independent woman, blah, 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 pay your own bills, don't need a man, Beyonce, all my single ladies. This is the messaging that they're getting.
And the craziest part about that, Aki, is that the people who are being used to disseminate that message don't live that. Like you said, Cardi B. Cardi B cleans. Like said, she got exposed by her own husband. I seen something on he filmed her. He filmed her sweeping up, talking about, I thought you don't clean. She cleans. She's bearing children. Her husband supposedly cheated on her, and she didn't get divorced. She stayed with him. Beyonce, she's married. Same thing with her husband. She's bearing children and taking care of her home. But they're putting out this. That's another thing that many of people, they see these characters in the media, and they almost think they're real, and they think they're role models and something to ascribe to. Like that's winning. That's winning. To be this this person who is independent. An independent woman who's fierce, who don't need nobody, and she don't take nothing off of nobody, and she ain't taking no. She she can run her mouth and cut you up with her mouth, and maybe even put her hands on you, and she'll divorce you at a drop of a dime and go get another one. And they think that's winning, and in reality, it's causing misery.
Yeah,
it's causing absolute misery. And I don't even know how something like this can be allowed to happen. At least among the Muslims, I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, okay, everybody else, but among the Muslims, how can this happen?
Yeah, this stuff is it's insane. It's insanity. No other community does that. You understand? No other community on earth says that they do not need their men. No other community does that. No other community on earth, okay, allows or makes single motherhood something that is normal. You know what I mean? They don't normalize this behavior.
But that's a proof that they don't really believe what they claim they believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you are if you see all this stuff in your community, your number one goal should be to educate the people and curb it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
That should be your number one goal, right? How are you going to curb it? By encouraging and signing off on these type of behaviors. You know, save the community, take another wife. You know, sister's been married 10, 20, 30 times. The Sheikh Mukbil Rahimullah, you gotta ask the question. It's on the Feachaz channel. You know, sister got married 14 times and such and such. What should we do? 14 times. That was back when Sheikh Mukbil Rahimullah was alive.
That's a cult.
And you still ain't fixed that problem yet.
But see,
but you're ready.
That's somebody that's involved in a cult.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
that's not general. That's not real religion. That's not real religion. That's somebody in a cult.
That is total backwards, destructive behavior. This is behavior that destroys the community. Especially if you had 20 years to fix it, and you still ain't fixed it.
You got worse.
You still complaining about the same thing. You know what I mean? Now you got people shooting outside the masjid and stuff. And what's the imam saying? Right? Is he saying, let's go, fix the streets clean? No, he's saying, I will give money to anybody who wants to go take training in firearms so they can be security for the masjid. Clueless. You know what I'm saying? Totally clueless.
I mean, exactly. Germantown is, everybody knows Germantown has a high percentage of Muslims. So people should be outraged that that happens. And that wasn't the only shooting. There's been other shootings. People should be outraged that how can something like that happen in a Muslim neighborhood, a predominantly Muslim neighborhood, and there are Muslim neighborhoods all over America, all over North America, and Canada, and that's not happening in those other neighborhoods. Like nobody's getting shot in the middle of in front of a masjid in Dearborn, Michigan. Nobody's getting shot, in Plano, Texas, in a Pakistani neighborhood. But it's happening among Negroes, and nobody's going to ask, why is that? Why is that? This phenomenon is not taking place in other Muslim communities. Why is it happening in this Muslim community?
Yeah.
What's different about this? What's so different about this community that's different from the other communities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a community that's supposed to be on the hawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sheikh Waleed, what do you think about this, man?
A very complex matter, not something I have a right to comment on.
Yeah, but when you look at the Black community, right, from like your background, right, from that perspective, how do you think that people from where you're from can help in the community? From
the place I grew up in, I believe there is no way. Because the da'wah, I'm aware vaguely of the kind of da'wah training they get, because my father taught, because he's more familiar with this culture, he taught in a da'wah training, but it seems is more focused towards non-Black audience. So I think can be no help unless more Black people go and train these people. Not now, because there's problems and they will not even accept. But if there's more training from the community themselves to those outside and understanding the issues then perhaps solution can a kind of collaboration can come about, I think.
But subhanallah, have we not heard stories about brothers who were overseas getting educations, getting in fights at the Prophet's masjid, punching people in front of the
Yeah.
Kaaba?
Oh yeah. Yep. That happened. That really happened in the haram. They punching each other and fighting at the haram. You see what I'm
So
saying? But
that's
those are the cultists though. Those are like the spubs people and whatnot. You know what I mean?
subhanallah.
But what the brother, what Sheikh Waleed just said is it's very important. It's pertinent, right? Because the idea is to make dawah to non-blacks from the foreign perspective. And we see that anyway. It's not like nothing that we didn't know. We knew this, right? We already knew this. We understood this, right? Back in the day, right, the dais were all black. Like they were like majority of them were black, right? Now, in our times, you barely see any black dais, even though they still make up a good portion of dais, right? There's the black people are still the majority going overseas and studying and whatnot, but there's no representation of them in any of the Islamic organizations. And I read before how every other people group, their masajid are increasing, right? They're getting more masajid, except for black people. You feel me? So all other people groups are increasing in masajid except for black people. You know, so that again, it goes back to my point that black people, the responsibility is directly square on black people because nobody's coming to help you. And the only help that we will ever get is from Allah directly.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So how much more pain do you want to go through as a black person in white dominated society? Do you seriously want all that more pain for Allah to wake you up and you know what I'm saying? You need because Allah is not, you know, shy to let his slaves feel pain. Allah has done this time and time and time and time again, right? So do you need more pain to get closer to Allah and seek his help? Is that what you're waiting for? Because honestly, we are running as a community, we are running out of excuses. Like straight up. Go ahead, bros.
Well, I was going to say, you know, there's an issue with this Pookie and Ray Ray culture among us, where it's either tolerated, it's either tolerated, or we're brainwashed into identifying with it. You know, and if that makes its way into religion, what motivation is there for anyone to want to become Muslim? Like I'm already out here. If I live in the inner, you know, I'm living in the hood. You know, I'm living in the quote unquote traditional black community, and unless you're talking about a community, you know, there are some middle class and upper middle class black communities. But when people think of black communities, they usually think of places that are lower income or working class. If I live in one of those type of communities and there are Pookies and Ray Rays running around my block, it used to be that people would wanted to get away from that. They would come into al-Islam. People who wanted to change their lives, people who wanted to make a turnaround. They would enter al-Islam. But if Pookie and Ray Ray, if the Imam is a Pookie, if his boys are Pookies and Ray Rays, if Pookies and Ray Rays are marrying sisters and having their way through the community, what motivation would there be for me to want to be in the masjid? It's just another place with a bunch of Pookies and Ray Rays. It's Pookies and Ray Rays out in the street. It's Pookies and Ray Rays at the church. Now there's Pookies and Ray Rays at the masjid. I'm not looking to any of that, because obviously the answer isn't there. Because if the answer was there, then you wouldn't have that problem. That's how people think. Like, how can you have that problem? How can you say you believe in Allah? How can you say you believe in Islam, submission to the creator of the heavens and earths, and you got Pookies and Ray Rays, and not just in the community, running amok in the community? So whatever, I'm a firm believer of whatever you tolerate, you always get more of. You know, if you see one roach, that means there's probably 100 other roaches. And if you don't do something about that one roach, you look up next month, now it's 200 roaches in the house now. So anytime you have, brothers coming in, being married to 10, 15, 20 sisters, running through sisters, getting married to every revert sister, impregnating sisters, and abandoning their children. How do you, first of all, how does the administration of the masjid and the imam allow that to even happen in the first place? Even if it happens and it kind of slipped past you, how do you allow it? Like you just said, you gave an example from back in the early 2000s of a sister involved in that type of situation. For 20 years, how do you allow that to happen?
Yeah.
How do you nobody in the whole community says, y'all shouldn't do this marriage. You shouldn't do this marriage. Do you know who this individual is? Do you know their background? Do you know their background? Where is this going? Nobody says anything. It's almost like that's cult like I said, that's cult like behavior on one instance, and it's if people got boycotted for less, how can you not boycott some of these individuals? So yes, there's an element of education and cultivation that has to be there, of course, but it has to be an acknowledgement. There are certain individuals, no matter how much education and culture you make available to them, they're hard-headed and they're just not gonna do right. And you have to do something about those. You have to protect the community from those individuals.
Well, when I look back, to be honest, none of that is like organic. What's happening in the community, right? The way that they act, again, you can see just from history that these people are leaders that were forced on us, and we see the results and the fruits of that forcing of these leaders on us. We have 20 years of experience now, and zero gains, like zero. If you look at the brother Isa Abu Isa, right, from the night shift, look what happened to him now. You see what happened to him? You know who he is? By any chance?
I'm not aware of that individual.
Yeah. Okay. So there is this YouTube channel called The Night Shift with this brother Isa Abu Isa, right? He studied in Egypt and whatnot. Now, this brother, he was a traumatized brother, and his son was shot dead by one of these cultists, right, for not following the manhaj, right? One of his wives died in Egypt by Egyptian Muslims, got killed in the whatchamacallit, the Arab Spring. Yep. So he's traumatized, right? And these guys had all kinds of epithets and stuff like that to throw at him because he was basically telling them about their cultish behavior. You feel me?
Mhm.
Then somehow he found about this indigenous cult. You know the indigenous? You know,
Yeah, I know.
black
Yeah,
people are Native
yeah.
Americans. You know them, Walid. You know them. Yeah.
Dane
Black people are
Calloway and these
Native Americans.
individuals.
Yeah. These people. He came across these guys, right? Right, and then he started spreading that. Somehow from him spreading that actually became a thing in the Muslim community, right? I don't know how. It ain't my fault. I wasn't there. Okay. But it became a thing in the Muslim community. And he was like pushing that hard. Hard. He was pushing that, you know, we're not from Africa. I ain't no descendant, no slave. You know, I'm from the Yamasee nation, blah, blah, blah. All right. You start pushing that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now he's full on that. Not a Muslim.
SubhanAllah.
Okay.
That's his religion
Not
now.
a Muslim. Yeah, that's his religion now. He goes outside sun gazing, rubbing on trees. It's like legit rubbing on, like he's touching the tree and whatever, sun gazing, getting grounded, whatnot. Like he's legit doing that. You feel me?
SubhanAllah.
And
but
he's
like you
putting
said,
out.
he's been traumatized.
He's been traumatized. So now, when you see people like this, bro, you have to handle situations like this with caution and some sympathy and empathy. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Because he left Islam now to become that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, who can think like that? Under normal circumstances, nobody can do that. Are these circumstances normal? Are they normal in our community?
I hope
You
not.
feel me? Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? There's no way these circumstances can be normal for him to do something like that. That is why he can leave Islam, because the circumstances amongst the community are so incredibly toxic that he conceptualizes the toxicity of Islam, or of the toxicity of the people with Islam. You feel me? Because the way he's getting treated by the people, and it's
And
not just him.
a lot of people do that.
Yeah. What happened to you? What happened to you?
Yes, a lot of people end up in that lane.
Yeah. What happened to you? What happened to the brother CL? Same thing happened.
That's why I
Same
said
thing
earlier, if you remember earlier in the program, I said about some of these sisters who are making these ridiculous TikTok videos. I guarantee you, some of these sisters have been traumatized sexually, or
Yeah.
traumatized through marriage.
No doubt. No doubt. So the imams that have been forced down our throats, people like Hassan Somali and Musa Richardson and whatever, these people who've been forced down our throats by foreigners, we didn't ask for them. What is the fruit of their labor? What have they done? We see your 20-year resume now, your 15, 20-year. We see it. It's on display for the world to see. What have you done except for almost 2 decades of begging poor people for money for your masajid? That's your legacy.
And you can't, and subhanAllah, you can't even.
And when you die, that will be your legacy. That's what you're going to be remembered for. Mabruk.
SubhanAllah. Well, I was going to say
That's how the people remember you.
at least the preachers who beg the same community in the same communities who beg poor people for money. At least they'll give their followers a nice church to go to. You know,
Yeah.
you got some of these masajid
We don't
in
even
these
get that.
yeah, the masajid is totally tore down. It's like
it's tore up.
Yeah. You go in the bathroom area. You might as well go. You probably rather go outside and find a water hose and make a wudu.
And straight up.
You can't even give people you can't even get the people a building. Like the preacher, the begging preacher at least gives the people a building, a nice building to go to, a mega church to go to. SubhanAllah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about it earlier about building infrastructure. It's one of the things we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Pookie and Ray Ray are not going to build any infrastructure. That's if we got anything down pat in this experiment, Pookie and Ray Ray are not going to buy any buildings.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to rehab any buildings.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have any properties. They're not going to build any masajid from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
At best, you're going to get them to take some space and convert it into a masjid, and it's going to be a crummy space, and it's going to be there for 20 or 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you say some of these same communities don't own any property. Somebody pointed this out. I can't remember who said this, but it's true. A 10-year-old church, a church that's been around for 10 years, will own property, will own the land that it sits on, and will own other properties. I saw this when I was among the Christians. A 10-year-old church, went from meeting in a basement, and after 10 years, it owned 2 church buildings. It owned the land, all the acres of land around the church, and it owned a house that it allowed the pastor to live in. It went from a basement to that in 10 years, basically running a $1 million nonprofit corporation. It was with $1 million budget. But these individuals can't do that. They can't even manage to, in 20 years, they can't even manage to do that. It's incompetency. See, anywhere else, we would call it what it really is. But then again, this is part of the traumatization in the Black community that we're made accustomed. We have such low self-esteem that we tolerate incompetence.
Yeah.
We think we don't deserve anything better than incompetence. But anywhere else, you would say these are failed leaders and incompetent leaders who can't do anything. They can't run the organization. It's a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit.
But here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that, bro. Everybody else understands that about our leaders.
Yes.
First of all, that's why they get picked for us, for that same reason that you're mentioning. And second of all, that's why nobody looks at them with any type of seriousness at all. And the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, because look at the development. Look at the development of the community, you know? Look at the fruits of that labor. You know, it's really disgusting, man. It's really disgusting. And, you know, Yom Al-Qiyamah, everybody will have to stand in front of Allah. And we will see for sure, you know, we will see who you people really are. And you won't be able to hide that day. But as for us on the ground, this mistake that we keep on making, it has to end, like now. We can't afford to make another mistake like that. Because if we do, after we've been given the Quran and the Sunnah and knowledge of Allah, if we do that, we are setting our own destruction, and our children and our children's children will be cursing us.
That's true.
There's only so many times you can make a mistake like that. You know what I mean? We've been through it with Marcus Garvey. We've been through it with Elijah Muhammad. We've been through it through Malcolm X. We've been through it through Martin Luther King. We've been through the same copy paste system, taking out every leader that we have one by one by one. And it's the same thing. And after our leaders get taken out, they tell us who our leaders are. They put our leaders in front of us. So you can look at a person like black people looking like a person like Young Pharaoh and Brother Polite, and accepting people, charlatans for the leaders.
On a side note,
Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Omar Johnson. These now even Omar Johnson, I don't believe he's from the enemy. I believe he's organic. But even he just came and ran game on his own people, and they fell for it. Him, brother. This is what we come down to now. Dane Calloway.
Somebody's
Dane freaking Calloway. Of all the people on earth, Dane Calloway. You know,
well,
Africans are white people. Dane Calloway.
Yeah,
Africans are not black. They are the African slaves are white people. Dane Calloway. Black people are the natives.
The psychology behind that, bro.
Black people were never enslaved. Dane Calloway.
Yeah, but I know you know who Nellie Fuller is, right? Nellie Fuller Jr. Have you heard of that individual?
100%.
Can you hear me?
1 second, bro. I'm lost my speakers here, man. You guys keep talking, inshallah.
Okay. Oh, I was going to tell you, Nellie Fuller Jr. Who is a excellent speaker, and he's a elder. Not Muslim, but he's an elder in the black community. He says about all these different little groups and individuals who are always arguing and coming up with theories about who black people are. Black people are Egyptians, and 1 minute black people are the Kemetic people of Egypt. 1 minute black people are the Native Americans. Next minute black people are Hebrew Israelites. These people only do that because they have no accomplishments now to point to. So they're incompetent and they have no accomplishments today that they can point to. They have to reach back in time and attach themselves to different races and groups and try to talk about, my ancestor 1,000 years ago did this, and my ancestor 500 years ago did that, because you have nothing to compete with. Because you're not out here competing with the other ethnic groups, and you're certainly not competing with white people. So that's the psychology behind that, and that's what Nellie Fuller says, and I tend to agree with him on that one. If we were competing and accomplishing things, somebody like Dane Cook he wouldn't even have an audience. Nobody wouldn't care what he has to say, or he would have a small audience, and very few people would care about his theories because people would be too busy paying attention to what's going on right now to be trying to cook up a theory about something from 400 years ago. Nobody would be Ashwar Kwasi or any of these individuals, not to put the individual down. I'm sure they do their research and they talk about Kemet and Egyptology and all that stuff, but you wouldn't turn that into a religion. It's almost to the point we turn these things into religions. You wouldn't, and through religion, you try to find the purpose of your life. You try to find the reason why you're here through religion. So, you're trying to find your purpose for life by attaching yourself to the Egyptians, or attaching yourself to the Hebrew Israelites, or attaching yourself to Native Americans. When that, first of all, none of that is your purpose of life, and we know that from the Quran. But you have no purpose that is rooted in action that you're doing today, right now. You have nothing that you can point to today that you can find a purpose in. So you have to do these little groups and these little quasi religions. You have to cook up, and you have to jump from one to the other to another one to try to find some purpose and meaning for your existence. Because right now we don't have any. We don't have a purpose, and we don't have any reason for our existence. If we looked at our condition today and looked at what's going on today, then we would be in absolute. We'd probably be every one of us would be depressed. We wouldn't have anything to point to. And subhanallah, we can't let that happen with a Salafiyah either. Yeah, we ascribe ourselves to the Salaf and we look back at the Salaf, but it can't just be I'm somebody and I'm a somebody because I ascribe myself to the Salaf, without that translating into a life practice that has some type of effect for today. Great. You've got Kitab Tawheed and you've gone through it. Okay. How do you take the principles that you've learned and apply them today? How does that work out today? How does that how does it work today?
How do you get past theory? You know what I mean? How do you do that?
Yes.
We need application. Like theory is, I'm very sorry, it's played out. It's played out. And it's not helping. We need tangible gains. You feel me? If a Muslim can leave Islam to follow Dane Calloway, like I can't even get over that, man. Dane Calloway, who is blatantly anti-black. I mean, he even says black people are not black. Dane Calloway. They're copper colored. Dane Calloway. They're not black people. They're indigenous Indians. Dane Calloway. They're not from Africa. Dane Calloway. And people follow him. And wallahi, I don't think 10, 15 years ago, people they would laugh at him. I think they would. Straight up. But because of social media and brainwashing and how easy it is to do it nowadays with apps and you know what I'm saying? But for a Muslim to actually listen to that is beyond me. Like this is the thing I don't understand. How can a Muslim actually take people like this seriously? Brother Polite, Young Pharaoh, Dane Calloway. This is the thing I'm not understanding.
You've lost your spirituality.
Yeah. Because if you just had a little, even just an inkling of Iman, you wouldn't listen to them, let alone common sense. Because you would recognize them as liars and charlatans from jump.
And, a side note, I saw something where Young Pharaoh says he's done with black women now.
Yeah.
He's dating out. So you went from this Mr. Comedics, Mr. The Pharaoh,
and black woman is
God. Yeah, the black woman is a god. He said the black woman was a god.
Yeah.
The black woman was. You went from the black woman as a god to I'm done with black women.
I'm done with black women. Young Pharaoh. These are the people you choose for your leaders, and then you wonder why you're catching all this hell from the enemy. You chose that. This is your fault. When you start choosing people like Hassan Somali and Musa Richardson and Anwar Wright and these type of Abu Khadija, well-known liars, well-established liars, and you start choosing those people for your leadership, then you deserve all the misguidance that Allah throws your way. It's not like their lies are like hidden somewhere. It's like their work is right in front of you.
And that's a manifestation. That right there shows you the manifestation of the things that we've been talking about that we see now.
Mm,
You know, um, the chaos that we're seeing spill out online and offline.
mm,
It comes down to, if you take these individuals as your leader, eventually it has to manifest. The outgrowth of that has to manifest in chaos.
mm,
Um, so much stuff. Like, I can remember back in the days. Now, it's not like some of these sins are new. They're not. But it
mm,
used to be a time where people would cover these things up. You know,
mm,
you know, yeah, there would be a brother who he was still listening to rap music, but he would hide. He would never play it in front of anybody. When somebody came around, he would hurry up and turn it off.
mm.
Now it's like, you know,
No, it's just
you put it,
open.
you
It's
put it,
open. And
you
like I
tell
said with
people, you,
that
you tell
sister
people.
in front of the camera, like doing this thing with alcohol and weed, with her abaya and hijab and the cop flipped over. No shame, no haya, nothing.
Hmm.
Just a regular day, like in the neighborhood or whatever, man. It's insanity, right? But these are the fruits.
Sets
So
marriage.
yeah, so us, the grassroots, we have to put in work, and there is a lot of work that we have to put in because we are the grassroots, and only Allah is our helper. We understand that it's like pick a task. You know what I'm saying? There's too much work, too much.
Mhm.
You should not be bored. Every single day, you should be doing something for the community because there's just pick something. You name it, we need it.
SubhanAllah. Like, the whole issue, we were talking about finance, and we were just talking about
Mm.
infrastructure. Finance. When was the last time in a black masjid or a black Islamic affiliated anything that you heard a message explaining zakat?
Yeah, zakat is the fourth pillar in Islam. It is a literal uh, economic pillar
Yes.
in Islam, and it's
Yes.
the first legislated group economic solution for a community ever written in history.
Mm.
The zakat is group economics.
Yes.
You
But
understand?
in some of our communities, it's pretty much non-existent.
It's non-existent because there is a lot of corruption from as we know from foreign entities and outsiders and the fear and like really what you call it nefarious entities, incredibly nefarious entities that are in our communities as we speak right now.
In fact, Naki, I would say there's a double punch. There's a double whammy.
Hmm.
One, you have communities where there's so much financial illiteracy
Yep.
that people can't even be in a position to give zakat,
Hmm.
and they don't even. And then on top of that, even though they can't give zakat, they don't receive zakat because the other parts of the Muslim Ummah in North America who 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 do qualify to give zakat, they're not going to give it to them.
Yep. The messaging that we've gotten is so ass backwards for the last 20 years that that generation is just lost and gone now. It's gone. You know, we were told that it is haram to send your children to university and colleges because of free mixing. So
Yes,
imagine the
I've heard
amount
that.
the yes, when we were brought here as slaves, the first thing that these devils did was made sure that we did not speak our own language, right? And we did not carry our own religions. And they illegalized reading. They illegalized reading. These so-called Muslim brothers of ours came to us, right? Made sure that we did not speak our own language, okay? Did not practice our own religion, and illegalized reading for us.
Mhm.
So we have a massive brain drain from that generation because our children did not get educated because it was haram for free mixing. Illegalized reading. Meanwhile, look at the Pakistani community. Look at the Egyptian community. Look at like any other community. They're full up with doctors, lawyers, engineers. They have economic power. They're writing books.
Mhm.
And we have to, basically, when they come and buy out our masajid and stuff, we have to just take it. We got to take it.
SubhanAllah, the Nation of Islam has done more economic cooperation and economic building than Black Muslims
Yeah, of
who are
course.
supposed to be on the
On the
correct
sunnah.
Islam.
Yeah, of course. That's a fact. That's a fact. But these guys, they can't learn from other people who are not Ahlul Sunnah, right? Because it's haram. So if you learn from somebody who's not Ahlul Sunnah, you're doing it haram, according to them.
Hmm.
So they can't go. These young youth, they can't go to university because it's free mixing. So they got to get a minimum wage paying job somewhere where there is what? Free mixing.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Hmm. So you're not avoid. First of all, yes, free mixing is haram, but like you just said, there's a disconnect. There's some. It seems to be some free mixing seems to be acceptable to some of these people, and
Free
other
mixing is
free
not even the
mixing.
question when it comes to that at all. They shouldn't even be
Yeah.
asking that.
But I'm saying, if you have a
The
principle,
question is, what is your 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan as a Muslim community? What is it?
I've never even
Muslims
heard
don't even
anybody.
have a 1-hour plan.
I've never even heard
Let's
anybody talk about something like that.
let's be real. They don't even have a 5-minute plan.
But how can you do that if the
Um,
leadership are
the
Pookies and
Muslim
Ray Ray?
mentality.
If Pookie and Ray Ray are the leadership, how do you expect Pookie and Ray Ray to come to people talking about a 5-year plan? Pookies and Ray
Yeah,
Rays don't make 5-year plans.
exactly. They don't think like that. You understand? You know that free mixing is haram, correct? How do you build an environment for the next generation to not be involved in free mixing? You have there's no thought process. Zero. You know, if you don't go to school, you're gonna have to get a job in any environment where there's free mixing, anyways. Working for somebody else. You know this, you understand this. But you still insist on handcuffing your own community, making sure that your community will forever remain a permanent underclass because it's haram to free mix. How does that even become a question at this point? How? It's like
Well,
going to, you remember Adam and Hawa, right? Adam and Hawa, Adam and Eve, when Allah created Eve for Adam and they have children, were they asking themselves, gee, I wonder if incest is haram? Were they asking themselves at that time? Was incest even a question?
No.
No. Because this was the environment that they're in. We were in a certain environment. If you want to get out of that environment, you have to be the change in that environment. And running away from it is not changing it. That's two different things. You have to develop a plan to get power. They don't have any plans. Their plan is donate to the masjid. That's their plan.
But Aki, that whole thing was an excuse anyway.
Yeah.
That the people who were saying that didn't even believe it themselves. The real thing behind that was, I'm a Pookie and a Ray Ray, and I'm uneducated, and I have no self-confidence to go get educated. So I need an excuse. I need a religious excuse for my non-productivity.
There's definitely people who use that, who internalize that as an excuse, but those fatwa at that time were definitely malicious in nature, because you're asking foreign people, and those foreign people who are making these fatwa live in countries where free mixing is not a thing. And they don't know, nor do they understand our situation. So they're making fatwa on us based on their own reality.
Some of those fatwa were not even there, though. That wasn't even a situation of someone asking. Those they were taking fatwa that were given in Saudi or some other place. They were given by shuyukh in those environments to other people living in those environments. They just went on a website or looked in a book and retrieved the fatwa and then told people in America and North America, this is what the sheikh said. So it was never a ruling that was given. So in some of these situations, it was never even a ruling that was actually given to the people in the situation.
Yeah, but in my humble opinion, all of this was plotted and designed specifically for the destruction of the Black community and the Dawah, because the Dawah was strong and it was growing and it was affecting the people in a very positive way until it wasn't. And it stopped affecting the people in a positive way when foreigners got involved in our affairs. You feel me? So, anyways, we should close it up now. Inshallah, we've been on for a while. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. Definitely share. I need you guys' support, because as you know, YouTube shut down the Feachaz channel. This is the mirror site. And when you're telling the truth, that's what happens. This is the result of telling the truth and speaking the truth. You understand? That's a thing. So if you want things like this, you are the ones who have to support this. It's you guys. You guys are the marketing team. You guys are the ones that make things like this happen. It's yours to keep or it's yours to lose. Because I'm just the guy putting my face and my voice in the front speaking for y'all. That's it. I'm just a dude. I'm doing my part. Now you guys have to do your part. Okay. Any final words, Brother Waleed?
جزاك الله خيرا for your efforts. I hope that I'm a student in this matter. Figuring out what are the problems and how I might be able to help by listening to you and what solutions you might speak. Alhamdulillah.
And CL, last words?
I mean, I would just say, you listen to a person who is in the position that you're trying to get to or you're hoping to obtain. That's the person who has the expertise to tell you about what it takes to get to that position. Pookie and Ray Ray can't tell you about a marriage or how to have a successful marriage. Pookie and Ray Ray cannot tell you about having being economic development. Pookie and Ray Ray can't tell you how to run a nonprofit, either a for-profit business or a non-for-profit business. Pookie and Ray Ray can only cap, as the young folks say. They can just cap, and collect money and get power, and marry sister after sister.
Yeah.
So We have to stop.
And
We have to stop.
let's keep it a buck. Pookie and Ray Ray got like a 20-word vocabulary, anyways, and they can barely string a sentence together in the English language. Barely.
That too. That too.
You know what I mean? But they will forever be putting themselves forward as if their opinions matter. And this irresponsible, reckless, and in my humble opinion, treacherous and infiltratous leadership that we have, on Yom Kiyama, they're going to see. They will see. Because they caused all this. They are directly responsible with your 15, 20-year resumes. Right?
Yeah, and the people behind them.
And the people behind them.
Yes. Because they're just the worker. They're not the boss.
Yeah. And as for the rest of us, it's time to get our hands dirty and get to work, because we got a lot of work to do, man. A lot of work.
One more word. I would say this is specifically to Black Muslims. Along with getting knowledge of the Deen, getting knowledge of Tawheed, getting knowledge of fiqh, get that. You must have that. That's your foundation. That's what you're building your Islamic life upon. But also, you need to set aside some time to become educated in some skill, that, especially for the men. Men are the maintainers and sustainers of women. Mm-hmm. You have to have a skill, and there's no time like now to do this. Mm-hmm. To have some skill that allows you to make money, whether you're going to go work for somebody or whether you're going to be an entrepreneur and get money. And for sisters and brothers, there is so much free information online, it's ridiculous. You need to educate yourself about how to create a budget. You need to educate yourself about financing an investment that does not violate the Sharia. I'm not telling you to violate the Sharia, so don't put that out there. But within the confines of our religion, things that you can do, places where you can put your money or make your money grow, and how you can do these things. Sisters and brothers need to learn home economics, how to run a home, how to cook, how to clean, how to organize a home. Even though you may not have anyone in your family who can teach you these things, you may not have anybody on your street who exemplifies these things. Because of the internet, just like there's people on the internet, there are Muslims on the internet dancing to Pooh Shiesty on TikTok. There's other people who teach these particular subjects and give information about these particular subjects for free that you can learn and absorb. So you need to make time for that too.
Jazakallah khair.
Wayo.
Gary, subhanakallah bihamdik wa shalla ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.